As we continue this month's featuring of the opportunist property managers in the space and what that means, this episode is about two people that I'm sure you know. Alex Zweydoff and Lacy Hendricks, a couple of super connectors in the property management space. And what makes it really interesting is that they found a gap in the market. And that gap is SEO. They were looking for their own solution for it. They couldn't find something that really worked for them. They got really obsessed with it and have recently launched a business around it called Clear Lead Digital. And this is the quintessential opportunity that's out there for property managers right now. If you can get your head out of the weeds, if you can get beyond the forever firefight, you have opportunities right now in this booming space to launch these extra revenue streams that add more and more value. What I want you to listen for is the passion behind this, right? Like the idea that they're two friends that met in the industry and are launching a business together and, really flexing their superpowers to help people that they really, really care about. The fulfillment in this is at another level beyond what I normally talk to property managers about. And this is an example of these opportunities that are going to continue to arise. Check out this episode with Alex and Lacy, and you're also going to learn a thing or two about SEO. Enjoy. Welcome to the Property Management Framebreakers podcast. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez, and I am here to introduce you to the folks in the property management space that have broken the frame of what you may believe was possible. This podcast is presented by Vendoroo. It is your all-in-one AI solution for resolving your maintenance needs. Let's go. All right, guys, Lacy Hendricks and Alex Zweydoff in the house, the Wonder Twins. Welcome to the Property Management Framebreakers podcast. Listen, I love you guys. You have been two of the people that have really just kind of like taken me under your wings and introduced me and opened up doors and all this type of stuff. And when I see the two of you pairing together, I also have an extreme amount of respect for get shit doners. Right. Which the two of you super are and are super involved in everything. So when you told me that you were pairing together on a business, I'm all in. When you told me you were pairing together on how to do SEO properly for property managers, it really raised my eyebrows. And what I've grown to understand is that you two see a problem in how it's currently done, not naming names or anything like that, but there is a gap in what is needed from property managers by their SEO service. I'll just start with you, Lacy. Like how would you frame what that gap is? Like what is missing in the ecosystem?
It's the small business portion of it, right? We have these giant companies that have hundreds of clients and they can't get in the weeds to do the research and do the optimization that people need on their website to actually make them truly an individual website. So the gap or the need was a company to come in and be the worker bees to get the things done that need to be done to tailor these websites to individual businesses.
Alex, how would you describe it?
What she said, but I would pretty much sum that up into strategy. There's no strategy behind what they're doing. And you have to take into consideration every company's niche, their market, what problems are they having in their market, because everyone's different. And I think that once you kind of peel back the layers of your website and of your market, you're able to find those little holes. And when especially reviewing your competitors, seeing what they're doing and finding those things where you can really latch onto and make a difference in, because you may not be able to, it may be a little harder for you to hit this keyword, but this keyword over here that is kind of a problem in your area, but no one's really promoting it. You can grab onto that. So it's just putting the strategy behind it and really allowing, your brand and your messaging to go through to your content on your website. I think that's pretty much the biggest thing, is not having repetitive content and, not just saying, oh, I saw this on someone else's site, so I'm gonna do that too. But it's putting your own spin on all of it and making sure that you're becoming yourself that authority.
I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot from the two of you, this idea of repetitive content. And my head just goes to the idea of somebody somewhere was like, oh, I'm going to serve the property management industry. This is a good looking website for a property manager. So I'm going to just duplicate it. And then I'm going to just kind of think of in Q1, I'm going to talk about winterization. And then in Q2, I'm going to talk about, well, when springtime comes, maybe bugs come or something like that, right? Like, or maybe we're talking about like college move-ins and outs, and it's like copy paste content that everybody uses, and it all visually looks the same from a design, and that creates like zero differentiation when multiple people are doing the same thing over and over. How am I doing there? Is that what the current solution feels like?
Yes.
Yeah, but I would say and I'm gonna actually take this back a little bit on that one because I don't think it's the provider's issue. I
Mhm.
think it's the property manager's issue because I think that they're not taking the time to customize that content. They're giving them a roadmap. They're not saying use this. They're not saying use this. They're saying this is kind of the roadmap of what you can do to, you know, do fill out these content pages, but no one's taking the time to do it. And I think that they maybe don't have the time, but also flip side, the providers out there that are, are doing this, they know a piece of the industry. They don't know the deep down and dirty. So they're saying, move ins, move outs,
Yeah.
putting property in the market. So you have these very high level topics that they're talking about, and they're not able to get into the specifics of, and I always say, I tell my team all the time, if you're running into a question from an owner or a problem, shoot it over to me. I'll make a blog on it, because if those are things that people are asking, that's what we want to talk about on the website, and that's what people are going to be looking for. So, using those things that you're hearing all the time in your business is really kind of where we literally have in our teams, we have a notes section that they go throw things into, and I'll go grab something from some there sometimes, and some of them turn out great. But like for us, it's for my specialty in our niche is the legislative, and it's just finding that niche and making sure that you're latching onto that and staying consistent and building pages, and internal links within your site that are going to make that leverage.
When you say your special, your niche, you're talking about inside of your property management company? That's what you have kind of like planted your flag around and really developed a bunch of inbound based on search results for that?
Yes, my first blog that kind of took off and it kind of that helped start this journey was about the new squatter law that passed last year, and I started talking about it probably in February, March is when the original blog came out, and then when the law came out and came into place in July, there was no one else talking about it this time. So I became that authority between February and July, and and so I was ranking above the actual bill and the governor itself because I took the time to edit it and updated it. So it's just, and then I kind of kept on that path. So as new laws come out, as new, legislation's being talked, I'm putting out that context. I'm also have my finger on the pulse on that section. So it's kind of something I can stay abreast on.
And he noted or hit on something that I don't think a lot of people realize they can do, and it's super easy. Just update your content. You can put a new publish date on it, update the, title with a 2025, and that makes the LLMs and all the search engines, they see fresh content and they're like, oh yeah, let's crawl it again. Let's see what they have to say this time. And so it'll push you up further to the top, even though you really only augmented what was already there. So that's just a super quick, easy way to refresh your blog and get the Google eyes back on it again.
Yeah. Like nobody searches for legislative changes of 2023.
Right.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised. The year of that's one of my top keywords is the new rental laws for 2025. Things like
Yeah.
that. People are looking for that, and so
Yeah.
you keep that content kind of in that little sphere, and people just kind of bounce around, and it makes you that authority. But just finding your niche is probably that, and updating content is definitely huge.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the niche thing. Lacey, you guys are both super politically active people. Lacey, are you also kind of like same approach in your market? Was that also your aha moment when you started doing kind of like the legislative changes in San Antonio?
That wasn't my aha moment, but we definitely do have some blogs on it and they do rank really well. For me, my best performing one is it's a rental market update that I do once a month. So I'm constantly refreshing the data because it gets published once a month, and it has rental statistics for all of San Antonio. And then it has like days on market, average rent, and it's broken down by single family, condos, and townhomes, and then 2 to 4 plexes. So it really zooms in on those separate categories. The reports that are put out by a board of realtors up until this year were very focused on simply sales. And so I was going into MLS and pulling the data and aggregating it myself, but it was not complicated to do. So now I publish it once a month so that it is constantly up to date. And it's the first one that I know that was cited in ChatGPT, which was pretty cool. A friend screenshot it and sent it to me, and he was like, "Look what popped up." I was like, "Awesome."
That's cool. I guess we started this conversation just diving right into it because I think it's the best way to just experience like the gap and whatnot. But what I'm hearing from both of you is the reasons why the content that you have created for yourselves and the proposal of types of content that you're going to create from others come from not just generalized knowledge, but like being in the weeds of the knowledge. Like whether you're in the weeds of the legislative changes, which both of you naturally are, so you're gonna be knowing that, or in the weeds of like how you update your local market stats and how a property manager does that. I can start to see like a compounding effect of if I'm working for an SEO company that's an SEO company, they might be able to like give me some keywords that end up doing some generic stuff, but it's like that nuanced understanding of how it actually affects the property manager, that because you are both operators in your property management companies respectively, you have this unique insight into it that can then be, it becomes part of like a flywheel, right? Like when you're already in the habit of looking for these things, it's much easier for you to identify this, steer people that have a similar lifestyle into having like building it into their workflow or their like habits, so that when you give it to them now even more nuanced than whatever the SEO company prior could do, you can also guide them on helping them fill in the blanks of what makes it really, really uniquely theirs because you're walking their path. Is that kind of, am I getting warm there of how this is working?
Yeah, and this is where, knowing your ideal client and knowing your brand and what you want your brand to represent comes in critical, because if you don't know your brand and you don't know who your target client is, how can you speak to them directly? And how are you going to create content that is original to you and represents your sell or your company in a way that you want it to be perceived?
Do property managers know their brand? Do most know their brand? Is this something that when you guys bring it up, you have to like walk them through kind of like an understanding? Alex, I see you shaking your head like frantically there.
Part of our onboarding is asking them, how do you quantify your brand? And, they always pause. They pause and they think about it, and they say a couple of words that kind of make it, but it's not their brand. It's what they envision their brand to be. But I don't think it's what their brand actually is. So that's something that we're able to kind of help in that too, is like trying to figure out that, how it's gonna look and how you want to present that. Because you want to people say, I'm the number one property manager in this so and so, whatever. Or I'm trying to be everyone says transparent, everyone says, honest. You should be. You're licensed. You have fiduciary responsibility. That's a given. But
Yeah.
what's your differentiator that's going to set you apart from the other 50 property managers in your market? And really putting that unique value proposition in there so that you're able to kind of lock into that and say that this is why you could hire us, because we do these things differently. Like for us, I'm saying I always throw in my pitch that we are very involved legislatively in advocating for our landlords and our clients. Like that kind of says people like, oh, people say, that's cool, because people don't think about those things, but it's like we're staying ahead of the curve so that people aren't getting bad laws that are going to affect their rental properties and their businesses for years to come. But that's important, and if you show that passion through that, so whatever you're passionate about, if you're passionate about affordable housing, lean into that. It's just finding that niche market that you want to be in, and like Lacy said, finding your ideal client. Take the time to build your buyer persona. You're going to have a couple of them, but take the time to build them so that you can really focus in on your strategies for that.
Who does a good job of that? Like, is there people that y'all point to that are like, yeah, you can go on their website and you can immediately see that they have a certain type of brand?
I think Birdie. I mean, it's pretty easy for them because, they're a PMI company now, but Birdie Property Management, their logo was a bird. They had their URL is birdie.com, which is amazing. And they brand themselves as the largest property management company in San Antonio. They've won that award from San Antonio Business Journal, I don't know how many times. I know him and his brother, Brian and David, they're brothers. They used to have a podcast. It was a radio show. I'm sure if they publish that anymore. I haven't heard of it in a while, but that's really what built their brand out. And whenever you say Birdie, people know who you're talking about. And it doesn't matter if you're talking about single family, HOA, or rentals. They do it all.
So talk me through how that translates into like an SEO strategy, right? Like if they're doing a good job with brand, how would a kind of like an SEO and types of articles that you write be based on kind of like that position that you just described?
So in that situation, I would think that you're looking at more of an investor client because they're looking for the biggest property management company in San Antonio, not necessarily boutique property management company in San Antonio, because the biggest property management company in San Antonio is probably looking at like really streamlined processes. So, and people think, and it's true, the bigger you go, the less personal touch you get. So a seasoned investor, at least, not a little star by that, a seasoned investor, a real investor who knows what they're doing, they don't want to know the nitty gritty of it all. Whereas the smaller companies that provide the more personalized service might work with the more accidental landlords. So I think that that's one way you could take their marketing or their keyword searches, but that's just a hunch. You really have to run the reports and see what's going to stick. And there's ways to calculate it, but without knowing, I don't know who their ideal client is. So it's hard for me to say from this perspective, like what their best keywords would be until we had that conversation.
Yeah, but you illustrated that well, right? Like there's a difference since to me the bridge you made there that became obvious to me is if you were going to promote yourself as the most established company and one of the biggest companies, then you are then you are likely going to be speaking to an investor that cares about your scale more than they care about your like personalization piece, right? They want to know that you're like a well-operated machine. So we're going to be writing articles about like systems and predictability and these kinds of things instead of writing articles like, oh, I'm like a hotel company and I provide experiences and these kinds of things, right? So like I was just kind of looking for that kind of like juxtaposition, which makes a ton of sense.
And Lacey's very humble. She's very humble because they have their brand really aligned there. They're a heritage brand. They've been around for so long. They have that understanding in the community of who they are, and she does a really good job at that storytelling. And I think that's something. I know she's very humble with that, but she's a great example of that, just because she knows the brand and she has a passion behind the brand, which I think that's whenever you have passion behind what your content you're putting out, that really shows through. And it's her family, and that's something. It's better than just an employee being out there, writing your content for you. If you have a true invested interest and a passion and a love for everything surrounding it, that's when the content can really shine.
Yeah. So you talk about Lacy's company, Hendricks Property Management.
Yes, yeah, and her
Their
website,
brand.
yeah, absolutely, yeah, their brand. Yeah,
Yeah.
they have she was able to kind of take them from this, referral only basis company to an online kind of like stream source where that's coming in. And it's just because they had the story and she told that story online. And that's where she's able to, get these leads, for much lower cost these days than, paying a referral fee to an agent or just friends, family, and all that kind of stuff. So that's powerful in the sense of taking that and translating that story throughout. You look at her website, you can just tell it just looks like a heritage brand. And I think that's, something that's really awesome. So kudos, Lacy.
Nice. I want to talk about that journey, right? Like that's one of the things that most popped out to me when you guys were talking to Andrew Smallwood was that you both mentioned, me from the outside looking in, I would assume that most property managers have website leads and they kind of have this thing and it's kind of working for them. But it sounded for both of you that your leads in the business that you used to land came from a completely different channel until y'all took over SEO, and now it's coming in from the internet and it's much more passive. Can you kind of just both walk me through what a typical client acquisition was before you uncorked SEO leads and then after?
Sure. So people would call my office and be like, hey, I have a property. I need a property manager. We were like still running yellow page ads and advertising in the newspaper and things like that. And then when I said, okay, we were forced off of our website template that was on WordPress. And I had taken it over from a previous employee. And when we were making the switch from that old website to the new website, that's when I went out and was looking at all the different companies that do property management websites. And I was just like, this is a really big package. I don't know how long we're going to be in this space. Let's just do something that's easy for now. And so I set up the original website that we're on now. So we kept the same URL, obviously, but we didn't optimize it much. We weren't blogging. We weren't doing anything for years. I mean, it worked and it was pretty, but we weren't tracking where our leads were coming from. We weren't doing, like, if they came from our website, we wouldn't know. There was no way to track it. So that was really a big hurdle for us, was getting all of our systems and our CRM set up so that we could track where the leads were coming from. And then once, we had that whole structure set up, is when we could start seeing how well our website was processing, or how well our website was generating leads. There are lots of things I could still do on the website to make it better. But right now we're closing exactly how many doors per month we want to close just from website leads. So that we do have other avenues for people coming in that we close with also. But the fact that I can get if I can depend on my website to get me that many leads per month, that many closed leads per month, that's really, everything else on top of it, that is just like butter.
Yeah,
I'm safe.
Yeah, that's a super attractive place to be, right? If you can have predictable revenue to meet your business goals based on one main channel that you can clock, right? Like, which for you right now is your website, closed one business coming in off of that, supports the business goals, then every other channel can be additive to it and can be gravy, and you can have these like really big months, and you're not like starving to like somebody needs to uncork something. What I'm hearing inside the story is that it just used to be a big mix, and like month to month you might be like, oh, I don't know what kind of month this is going to be, because maybe my networking channel does something, or maybe somebody comes in because of an ad. And now you just have this like constant feeling in the business where like the motor is running, you're at 65 miles an hour. Every once in a while somebody hits on a gas and you run for like 100 miles an hour, but you feel that like constant feel of having a well-developed go-to market channel that is functioning like an assembly line, which is a dream for business owners.
And not just that, but like actually being able to see what's working and what's not working.
Yeah.
And, it's before it was, I don't even think that they could track how many properties we were taking on per month, other than like maybe running a report from the beginning of the month to the end of the month. But like, how accurate was that? Was anybody actually doing that? Like, I don't think so. So we used to be a very, all of our KPIs were in a closet because nobody was tracking them. And I come from a background of KPIs. So the fact that we were taking over this company that had no idea how it was operating, it started with a forensic audit on our account. And then we went from there. So it's been a journey. It wasn't easy to do, and it wasn't something we could do overnight, but it was definitely worth it for the peace of mind that it's brought now.
That's awesome. Alex, you're like a rainmaker, right? Like, you are a business developer yourself. And I would imagine that you bring in leads just like you being a person around town and stuff like that. Was that, talk to me about kind of like the before of how business was coming in, and then after you became obsessed with SEO, kind of like how that mix has changed and what that's done for you.
So, and this is something I always like to touch on, is we were doing Google ads prior to, we were paying for ads, to be shown on, shown at the top whenever you Google whatever that key term was. But you're getting tenant leads, you're getting all these clicks that you're getting, you're paying for these clicks that aren't turning into any business. And so with the Google ads, you really can't hone in on what you actually want. So that's the power of the SEO part, where you can really hone in on a more qualified lead. You're not having to pick up like if I get a lead notification on my phone, I'm picking up, looking, stopping what I'm doing, calling it. And, and if I have to do that a couple times a day with tenants, that takes a lot of time out of my day. But for me, yes, I'm out there doing networking events. I'm out there doing associations. I'm out there doing chambers. I'm out there, creating our brand locally. But that's great, and that is definitely a part of it. But we kind of say is like, when the website's working and it's doing what it's supposed to do, I'm making money while I sleep because it's out there working for me. And it was able to take me out of that a little more, because it's very hard being out there all the time doing things, running from place to place. And, that was able to let me take a step back and kind of work on some other areas of the business in a sense, and kind of let the website do what it wants to do, and I don't have to work as hard and being out there and just hustling. Because a lot of those in-person things and those events, that is a long-term game. That's the part of the funnel where people, when they find someone that they may know that need property management, they may refer you later down the line. You know what I mean? But the website, they're looking for it. They have a need, or they have a need coming up very soon, and you're able to put them through that customer journey, and keep them in there. So they come here, and it's all about call to actions and all these things in the website that you can lead that to. You can lead the lead. You can lead the lead to where you want them to go. And it was just really, it was a lot, especially in COVID. I think COVID was a big change for that, because it kind of took a lot of that away. So we had to kind of focus on other areas and stuff too. And, the SEO stuff kind of started a little further down the line from that, but it was the fact that you really need to stop. And, I know people tell you all the time, you need blogs, you need videos, you need this. You need to stop fighting. You need to stop fighting everyone when they tell you that, because once I stopped fighting it and started doing, creating the social accounts and like really leaning into that, and then doing the blogs, it all does matter and it all comes together. But you can't do it in a way that's just you're throwing stuff out there. You need to have a strategy behind it so that they all kind of, intermingle, and you're creating that online presence, and really just letting, we always say your website should be your number one salesperson, and because that's what people are seeing. And Lacy said something I can't remember which one it was, but she said something about you wouldn't give a brochure with someone else's information on it out there. And, so your website is a brochure essentially of your business, but you want it to be your business. You want it to be what you're doing. If you go into your FAQs and they're not what you're doing, and then you have an owner come in and like, wait, I read your FAQs and this is not happening. It creates that level of distrust. So it's going to help you through your whole process and really defining that. Take the time, stop what you're doing, look at it all. You don't have to write the content yourself. You can get someone else to do it, and you can, there's so many different, AI, there's all many things out there that can help you do this. But make sure that your messaging is there. If you're collecting rent between the first and the fourth, make sure your website says that. Things like that, because it's going to educate. You're there to educate people, and when you're educating people with just filler content, you're doing no one any justice.
What I'm hearing between the lines there for you, Alex, is the idea that in marketing we talk about creating demand and capturing demand. Right. And there's two different types of activities, right? Like when you are doing SEO and Google ads and stuff like that captures demand. When you're out there networking and you're out there building these relationships, you're generating demand. The thing is that if you don't have a good way to capture demand on the back end, then when you're out there generating demand, you start getting like thirsty to also capture demand, and then the generating demand doesn't work. And like as like an extremely relational person as you are, going out there and networking and not having this like thing behind it that's already powering you, kind of like how like for Lacy and the Hendricks team, it's like the financial kind of like predictability. I can imagine that being in a networking room, feeling like you have to make a sale feels freaking terrible, as opposed to knowing sales are coming in from the website and being in a networking room, knowing that you're planting seeds and you're going to allow them to grow. And it kind of like enables the whole thing, right? You're able to, you get more credibility on social media because people know you and they associate you with good things. And then they get to your website and they're like, oh, this is the same vibe that I got when I met this dude out on the street. And then now it all just kind of like, you've kind of like closed that loop is what I'm hearing based on what you guys are doing.
Okay. This is the part of the episode where I normally do an ad read for Vendoroo, but I'm not going to do it this time. At the end of the day, Alex and Lacy have been two people that clearly add a lot of value to others. They've added a lot of value to my career, plenty of doors that they've opened for Vendoroo, and I want to open one for them. So my only ask on this episode is that you reach out to them. If you want to have these cost per lead results that they are getting for themselves, if you want somebody that can give you clarity into your SEO, someone that can drive actual results and make you not look like every other property management company, reach out to Clear Lead Digital. Give Alex and Lacy a shot here as they're building this company. I have no doubt that you will love working with them. Go to clearleaddigital.com.
Because I'm involved with the board, with the Realtor Board, obviously NARPA. I was in BNI, the chamber. We do all these networking events. And the fact that I can just go be myself and not have to worry about sell when I'm there. Yeah, I'm there to make connections and meet people and all those things, but I don't have to concentrate on pitching my product. I can just be myself because all they have to do is go to my website and they can find all of the information that they need right there. And I don't know. I'm not a natural salesperson. So it makes me a lot more comfortable when I can just go into a room and be myself and not have to worry about, I got to get 20 new people in my pipeline today. And I don't know, it jives a whole lot better with me.
And I think you just got to be thoughtful about it. That's the most important thing. My approach to networking and all of this is I'm providing them value with referring people to them, and then they're going to refer back to me. And it's kind of like the BNI model. And I did BNI, I did pre-BNI previously, and that's a great sphere of marketing that you can definitely be a part of. But it's, I don't go into a room saying, what am I going to get today? I say, what am I going to give them today? And I think that's important too, that you're, because if you've provided them a few leads and you've made a difference in their business, when they do have that something come up, or a friend that's going to rent needs to rent or whatever, they are going to think of you. And it's not, you need to plan, any kind of networking group like that, that's 2 years minimum before you're earning that trust truly. Unless you're banging out leads like 100 to this person, then they're going to be definitely knocking them over to you a little sooner. But it was like after I left BNI, I was in it for like three years. After I got more leads after I left BNI than when I was in there, because they maybe got other companies in there, and they weren't doing what we were doing, and they weren't giving that transparency. So people will remember that in the long run.
Yeah. I like it. I think the three of us could definitely have a whole podcast about networking. I feel like the podcast that I had with each of you individually, we talked a bunch about networking. I want to get a little bit more, as a marketing guy, I'm probably like the dumbest marketing guy when it comes to SEO. So I want to ask some questions like you're like asking for a friend, right? Lacy, you've been saying something super attractive to me, which is, that your cost per signed property management agreement is $8.33 or something like that. You guys' company name is Clearly Digital, meaning that you are leading with clarity around decision making and like knowing that SEO is working for you. If you're going into somebody and they're like, Lacy, yeah, I want to do business. Eventually, I want to do SEO, but first, I really want to know, like, what is my cost per PMA? How do you figure that out? Like, how do you gain clarity around that?
So with Lead Simple, I track I have like a different email address for each time a form is submitted on my website. So it cites it specifically what page it came from into Lead Simple. And this is the easiest way to do it. You can also do it through Google Analytics through Google Analytics. But so I have it to where it tracks when it goes into Lead Simple, and I just went in there, and you can pull a report about like how many leads are coming in, how many leads are lost, are invalid, are closed. And so I've just calculated back for the last 3 months, we've gotten this many leads per month, closed, and we spent this much money per month on our website, divided by that, and it came out to $8.33 over the last 3 months.
Have you done that analysis across other channels?
I could. So we have a realtor referral pipeline that I could track, and we've just really started pushing that program.
Yeah.
I would say like within the last month, we've really been pushing that program, and it's worked out well for us, but I haven't calculated it. And so for those, you have to like do pop buys. So what are you calculating? All the sandwiches you have to bring with you, and the flyers and cards you have to leave behind, the gas money, your time. Like there's just no way you can make it that cheap.
And no referral fee.
Yeah. You bring up another good point, that it's like the beauty of this channel is that it is so trackable, right? Like you really do know the costs and the inputs, and you're able to like really measure that stuff. Alex, do you guys know your cost per PMA, man? Are you guys getting numbers like that?
So here's the thing, and this is the one thing that I've always done. Maria has always pushed me for that. When you're a salesperson, the data entry and those things are so unattractive. But we have been leaning into that. We recently switched over to another software, and so we have been leaning into that a little more. And we're hoping by the end of this year we have a full data set on that. We definitely have an idea of where it's at, because we take every lead source we have into consideration. It's probably around $500, that's everything all together. But the website, we're able to now lock that in a little more and understand what that's looking like, because it's definitely, there's the ways to track it within the back end and things like that, but it's where is your most volume coming from? And so that has changed for us. So our numbers definitely going to be going down after, because we went on this, we launched the new website last year. So we're going on a little over a year of data, but actually truly tracking it this way, we're going to be able to have a better idea of that. And I think that, we're doing it, we're saving both of our companies a lot of money doing it ourselves. We're passionate about it. And so, they're both very lucky companies to have us.
I believe
So,
it.
and so, not everyone's going to have that. So, when you hire someone like Clearly Digital, you're going to have a little bit higher price, but you're going to be getting a better return. And so here's what I always tell people: you got to spend money to make money, one. But, if you're spending a little more money here, but you're getting 10, 15 more leads a month, and you're closing 10 of those 15 leads a month, you're getting more money, that value. What's your return on an investment? And that's where I think you should look at and really lock into, because, if you can make 10 times the cost of what it costs to hire us, why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
But
it's a great
also,
investment. It's not a cost, right? Yeah.
I think it's important because we haven't talked about this much. If you want to come in and have us just like clean up your website and get it good and going, and have us teach you how to write the blogs, how to make it not take 3 days to get one single blog done correctly, best practice for, structure and URLs and things like that, like, we will happily teach you how to do it so that you can take it and run with it. Some people really like that part of it. That's what I like about this business, is like it's covers so many different, you wear so many different hats. There's a place for everybody. And the places that I don't like to work are the places that are the things that we outsource, right? So like my bookkeeping, done. But this is the part that I nerd out on and I love to do, and it makes me happy. And I know that there are other people like that in our industry. So if all you're looking for is like a refresh and a couple of classes, we can do that for you. And that's another thing that really sets us apart from the current providers that are out there, is that, they'll set it up for you, but they still have most of the strings pretty tied up. You can, do the blogging yourself, but you don't have the ability to truly control all of the things.
Tell me
And
more
we
about
didn't want to
control.
be SEO. We didn't want to be SEO
Huh?
people. We fell in this place, and we're doing it because we, like me and Lacey, we've been able to help each other's business, with our tricks and sharing things back and forth over the years. And we want to do it because we want to see, we're we didn't start this company originally. We were just doing it for ourselves, and then people kept asking us, Can you help us with your website?" And we're like, we don't have time for this. We're running business, property management companies and doing all the minutia of that. But we started helping a few people here and there, like just because they're our friends, and getting to their Google Analytics and messing around with things, and helping them with some stuff. And we saw we were making a change in their business, and that's why we started this. We started this because we can help the people we love in this industry. We have a lot of love for this industry, and we want them. There's enough space for everyone to succeed here, and so there's no competitiveness really in there is, in some markets there is, but like, we in here in Orlando, there's business for me, there's business for you, there's business for all of us. What might not be good for me might be good for you. And I think that if everyone kind of leaned into that, and we're just pulling that curtain back, we're just giving you that knowledge, like, and really talking to you as property manager to property manager and saying, this can change your business. If this is what you want to do, this is the path. And it's coming with LLMs and all these things. If you don't have the basics of the basics, when I promise you, we look at a lot of the websites in the industry, you don't have the basics. So I think having those basics is going to be, we can do the little, we can do the great. We go from core packages to, you want to be the authority in your market, this is the path you go. We can create that strategy. And it's just, depending on where your goals are for your business, we're not going to give you an authority package if you don't want to grow, too heavily because you can't internally handle it. But if you want to like just take over, we can do that too, and it's just making sure that you create that space.
I love that this just went there, right? Because I think the main reason I want to, not only are you guys my friends and I want to help you promote your new business, right? But like, to me, what I hear in this conversation is something that I hear a lot when I talk to property managers. And it is, we love other property managers. We love the people that we do business with. We don't necessarily love doing property management as much. That's pretty thankless. And what I hear and what you guys are talking about is this like passion, this like invigorated passion in finding a craft that you enjoy doing, that you feel valued when you do, that you don't feel like people are looking at you like you're a cost center, but you're looking like an investment that grows their businesses. And, like that ability for property managers to do that, I think is something that's going to continue to increase to happen, right? Like I think the two of you are particularly beasts when it comes to just doing a lot of things all the time. And I really, really admire it. And you've been able to build this business up. But I think property managers need to think about this stuff, right? Like think about like what lights you up and what makes you sound like Lacy and Alex when you're talking about something, because as AI comes in and starts to be able to like automate things, I think leaders in companies like yourselves will be looking at what's the next opportunity and what's the growth lever. And for some, it's going to be what's the growth lever for the property management company myself. Other people are thinking what's the growth lever for my own personal growth and financial growth. And you're going to start to be able to diversify and get into businesses like these. And I think you guys are a shining example of kind of like showing how taking advantage of an opportunity can lead to this level of fulfillment that you are feeling right now, as well as financial gain. So I think it's just like a great example to put out there. I just said a lot that doesn't lead to a good transition, but I do want to know clarity and control. You guys keep talking about clarity and control. How do you, as a service provider for someone else, right? Like in your story, there is clarity and control because you took it over. As a service provider, how do you provide clarity and control to people that you're working with, since it's such like a need there?
We get them the tools that they need to be able to monitor the situation. We teach them how to interpret the data so that they know what they need to do better or turn down. We don't, and this has been something that we've said from the beginning, is we don't want to we don't want to take your content and hold it captive, right? We want to we want our clients to be empowered to know how to work it themselves. Their content is their content, and that's what they should own. And that's what they should be able to control. So clarity in the fact that you can see exactly how your website is performing, and you know what the data that the tools say they're doing, like you know how to interpret the data that's being shown to you. I'm not going to lie, Google Analytics is kind of crazy, but it has a lot of really useful information in it. So learning how to read the data, knowing what tweaks you need to be able to do that, and retaining the content as your own content and not handing it over to a third party. So while we would be that third party acting for you, we're never going to try to hold it hostage from the client. This is their stuff. When they're done, we give it back. And it's theirs to keep forever. We're not going to make them pay additionally for it. We're not going to put it behind lock and key and keep it in a secret database somewhere. That's just not who we are or how we want to operate.
There's no gatekeeping. That's what it is. I think that there's a lot of these barriers in a lot of these companies that are out there. They put these barriers up to where, one, they don't necessarily want you to learn this and know this because that's going to make more work for them. And that's maybe not their business model. And, that's great. But again, for me, it took me going out and talking to someone outside of the industry. When I talked to that person outside of the industry, they kind of were able to, they weren't talking at me like these other companies do. They were kind of like, okay, this is someone that that cared about the company. So they kind of looked at it in a different light too. So they were telling me, this is what you could do. This is what you could do. You're not getting that. You're getting, here's your keywords that you're ranking for. And, you're doing great. You're ranking for #1 for popsicles. So yay, I'm so happy for you. But you're not selling popsicles, you're selling property management. And I think that really just giving access to it. You want to see something, you can see it. You want access to something, you can access it. And just knowing that you have that power to do that. And I think when you take those gates down, you take those barriers down, that's going to give them that empowerment. And we'll give you a little education into it. But if you don't want to learn it, you don't have to. But you can if you want to. And I think it's that pathway to either I can go do it, or you can do it for me, or I can watch you do it for me, but learn while I'm going.
As I hear the two of you talk about this, I'm having this like reaction, like, how isn't that how it is? Right? I'm blown away that this is what you have to position against. And it feels like this is, again, back to a giant gap in the market, right? Like if property managers are so used to being like, no, this is the only way it can be. And all of a sudden you show them something that's clearly what you would want it anyways. Like what you just described to me is like, obviously, how is it not what I'm getting? Right? Like, why hasn't somebody put this out before. Like, what is what is making it possible to like for you to give people this access and not gatekeep them? That is holding like, how
So
is
I
that not
think
done before?
the what led to this was scalability, right? Like it's not possible, like I said at the beginning, it's not possible for a giant company to be able to provide those kinds of tools and resources because their load it would not be profitable. They would have to hire so many people to support the amount of clients that they're already trying to support. And it just got to a point where a lot of people are starting to notice. And Alex and I were just well positioned within the space to notice that people were noticing that there was a big gaping hole in the market. So I think it was just luck. Everybody says luck. You got to have a little bit of luck in business. And
Yeah.
so I think that really things just kept lining up for us. And we just pulled the plug. We got to do it. Like if we don't take this opportunity now, somebody else is going to take it from us. So.
And there was luck and passion. There was passion.
Yeah.
There's the passion behind it that propelled that luck. And I think that we always talk about this industry is a weird space of relationship building. And we were building out like our marketing and things like that. We couldn't look at it like a normal business because we know these people. We have relationships with these people. We're not cold calling them. We were trying to. So
Yeah.
we're leveraging relationships, but there's so much trust in this industry. And I think people need to pull that back a little bit. Everything in your tech stack, every provider you're using, you need to evaluate them once a year, like a full evaluation, and go into look and seeing like, are they doing what they say they're doing? Because businesses go and they just keep moving and moving and moving, they keep growing, and then you're just become a number. And then you have this trust with them, and then you're not looking at it. And once we looked at certain things, and this is in different vendors, we looked and we're like, maybe this isn't right for us. Maybe this isn't doing what they say they're doing. And so it's stopping, and don't stop letting things roll and roll and roll and roll. Stop and take a look at everything you're doing. And once a year, sometimes even twice a year, because you got to make sure that they're doing what they say they're doing, but also you're getting what you're paying for.
I like ending on this, right? Like I sent Lacy a text earlier today talking about like being opportunists and whatnot. And she asked me like, where's the Venn diagram of like opportunist and connector? And I'm like, well, like opportunists, like connectors get more opportunities, right? So you guys as connectors, you get to see all these different things, right? Like you get to see these gaps in the market that brings you opportunists. And then she followed up with, and then her response was like, yeah, but I bet you there's like a big Venn diagram there of like people that like to serve others, right? So it's like to be a connector, you're somebody that innately cares about others if you really are a good connector. So you have this like beautiful combination of opportunities because you're connecting with people, relationships because you like to serve others, and now when the opportunity arises, you can also be an opportunist and doing it the right way. And what I'm hearing from you guys is like fulfillment. You're tapping into your passion. You're working with people that you already know, like, and trust. And that to me as a client would make me think, like that would make me feel good. Like this idea of their life, and you are too connected to the rest of their friends and your reputation is on the line already so heavily that you're like forced to do a good job. So I'm super pumped to see you guys take the step and, go down this like diversified entrepreneurial path that you're going on. And I'm pumped that you got to share it here. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're really, really excited about this, and we appreciate all your support.
All
Yeah.
right.